And good morning and welcome to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. 844-236-6010. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we can help you do that. 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. We've got a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk financial health and financial wellness with Patricia Davis, who is a financial health specialist. And she's got some interesting things to say about going broke or not going broke. In fact, her book is called Going Broke is No Joke. 52 money tips everyone should know. And we'll talk about post-COVID money kinds of things. Financial health is as important. No, it's not as important, but it's important like physical health is important. Financial health is also important. I'm not going to say as important, but it's important. This is what longevity is all about. Longevity is all about getting people financially healthy and physically healthy. Financially independent and physically, in terms of their health, independent as well. They go together. We'll talk to Patricia Davis at the bottom of the hour. Take your phone calls in our next segment. 844-236-6010. I'd really like to hear how you guys are handling this situation. Hopefully nobody's going into fear mode, into panic mode. We go into fear mode when we're not sure, when we're confronted with the unknown. Fear is about the unknown. And the more you know about what's going on, really know, not just what you're told, but really do research on what's going on, the less fear you will have. And that's what this program is all about, and that's why you guys are listening to this program. Because you understand that the more you know, the less scary it is out there. And it can be pretty darn scary out there. If you just listen to the news, what the heck's going on there? You got to hear every day about all the infections. What do you think that's about? Fear sells. Fear is a very easy place for us to go to. And when somebody encourages fear, we just go to it right away. That's something that's a very compelling feeling, fear. And by the way, there's a real interesting relationship between fear and excitement. You know, if you just analyze the feeling of fear and compare it to the feeling of excitement, there isn't much difference. It's really the label that we put on a feeling that makes it either scary or exciting. That's why kids can go on roller coasters and adults freak out. So learning to relabel becomes important too. Just figuring out what's really bothering you when you're afraid. When we're afraid, what's really bothering us? It's a feeling. It's just an energy in the body. And that energy in the body can be relabeled. And just these are little things that we can do to deal with life. The more you know about life, the easier life becomes to deal with. People are terrified of life because life is the unknown in a lot of ways. Now, it's always going to have a certain degree of mystery and unknown, but the more you know, the less scary it is. Our bodies are put together in a certain way, and we just don't know how it's put together, so we listen to Dr. Whoever. The reason we listen to Dr. Whoever is because we don't understand the body ourselves, or we don't understand immunology ourselves, or viruses ourselves, or nutrition ourselves, or chemistry ourselves, or biology ourselves. We don't understand ourselves, so we go to somebody else to tell us. And it doesn't work out so well. It hasn't worked out as evidenced by the fact that we have all of this attention paid to health. And we're so sick. And by attention, I mean money and resources and time. Look at all the ways we take care of ourselves. Not present company excluded. The average person takes care of themselves with the medical model because we just don't know. And so we end up just trusting authorities about our health. And it doesn't work out. Not understanding, we pay a major price by not understanding the basics of how the body works. We don't understand how, there's a lot of things we don't understand how government works. We pay a price there. We don't understand how economics works and finance works. We pay a price there. In the body, when we have a symptom, because we don't understand how it works, we just go take care of the symptom. We don't think about going back to where the stuff starts. And that's why, even though we have all these doctors and diagnoses and devices and protocols, and we understand all the molecular stuff, all the tiny little stuff that's going on inside of the cell, we've got libraries filled with textbooks about various enzyme reactions and biochemical pathways, etc. But we just don't understand as a culture. We can't seem to get healthy because we're trusting outside sources to take care of us instead of going back to the cause, which is always going to be in us. That's the key. You're always going to want to go back to the cause. The cause of a viral infection is not a virus. The cause of a viral infection is the terrain that can or cannot handle the virus. How do I know? Well, because most people can handle it. If most people can handle it, people can't handle it, what is that telling you? That's telling you the capability of handling it is there. It's just some people don't have it. What is it that's keeping them from having it? Now you're starting to talk about causes, not running away and putting things on your face so you don't breathe it. And you're always going to find underneath, you're going to find something that's not handling, that can be built up. It's not handling it, but there's something you could do about it, i.e. build your immune system, breathe, exercise, get off your prescription drugs. Yeah, get off them. I was on Coast to Coast a couple of days ago, and George always corrects me when I say that. He said, well, no, you want to just go off the drugs. Well, I don't say it on Coast to Coast, so I'm going to say it here. Yes, you do want to go off the drugs. Wean yourself off, maybe, but you do want to go off them. Prescription drugs do nobody any good, and they make it more likely that you will get an infection, FYI. I wonder when the last study was done on the people who are majorly symptomatic or, God forbid, die or have serious issues. I wonder how many of them are on prescription drugs. I guarantee you, if you do the numbers, probably 80% of them are on prescription drugs, and guaranteed they're on prescription drugs when they're in the hospital. 100% there. But it's all because we don't understand how the thing is put together, how the body is put together. You have an immune system. And by the way, some of us who understand how the body's put together a little bit anyway, we fall for what's called allopathic nutrition. Or we use nutrients like a doctor would use drugs. Oh, I got this problem, I take this nutrient. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about going back to the cause, going back to the suppression of the immune system, going back to things that invisible places where the physical shows up, i.e. our hormones and our thoughts and our emotions, our level of stress, our level of fear for that matter. And how ironic is it that fear makes it more likely that you're going to suffer from what you're afraid of in terms of the immune system and getting an infection. You think about fear, your cortisol goes up, your immune system gets suppressed, and what we're scared about actually now comes true. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side. We got Patricia Davis coming up at the bottom of the hour, and we'll be back right after this. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. Pharmacist Ben, 844-236-6010 is our number. Patricia Davis is coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk finances and things you could do to keep yourself financially healthy while all this stuff is going on and post. You know, this is a time to get situated for a springtime. In generational theory, which we've talked about, the four turnings, spring, summer, winter, and spring, summer, fall, and winter. We're now in the winter, the crisis period, soon to be followed by spring. And so now's the time to get healthy financially and physically. It's always a good time to get healthy, but now's an especially good time to prepare for the future springtime. We'll talk about things you can do to get through COVID with Patricia Davis, who is the managing director of Davis Financial Services in Maryland and the executive director of Money Matters, Inc. We'll talk to Patricia at the bottom of the hour and get your phone calls if we have any. The segment, 844-236-6010. So I've been talking a lot and reading a lot about the thyroid lately, and the thyroid is so fascinating to me because it's like a bridge between all chronic disease, between all the chronic diseases we deal with and where the chronic diseases begin with. It's the jumping off point, the thyroid. Two things about the thyroid. Number one, it's the jumping off point to all health challenges. It's the jumping off point to cardiovascular disease. It's the jumping off point to autoimmunity. It's the jumping off point to digestive problems and blood sugar problems and cholesterol problems. It's the jumping off point to neuropathies. It's the jumping off point to everything that sucks about life, in the sense that once you're hypothyroid, nothing runs correctly. Thyroid makes thyroid hormone. The thyroid is only important because of I shouldn't say that, but the thyroid is largely important because of the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone acts as a turn-on switch. It's what's called a signaling molecule, and it signals to cells, all of them, to do their business. It signals to muscle cells to muscle. It signals to heart cells to heart. It signals pancreas cells to pancreas. It signals liver cells to do what liver cells do. It signals every cell to do what it does. It's a generic turn-on signal for cells. And so without it, nothing works. And that's where all disease happens. Now, here's the second point about the thyroid. You can't take care of the thyroid by itself. You can't just target the thyroid, which medicine tries to do. And this is why, notoriously, the medical treatments for hypothyroidism don't work. So, anyway, I've been reading a lot about hypothyroidism, and interestingly, hypothyroidism, too little thyroid hormone, and hyperthyroidism have some interesting similarities, even though they seem like they're opposite. This is where understanding causes becomes important, because if you don't go to the bottom, it looks like at the top these are two separate things, but at the bottom they have the same root. They're both autoimmune for the most part. They both involve digestive issues. And in the case of hypothyroidism anyway, which is much more common than hyperthyroidism, the only thing they're going to do for you is they're going to give you a hormone. That's the treatment for thyroid problems. You get thyroid hormone. Well, that doesn't help you. You can't just keep taking thyroid hormone. That's not how the body works. It's supposed to fluctuate. And this is why Synthroid and levothyroxine, the generic form of thyroid hormone, is notorious for being ineffective. It's notorious for having for needing to have your people on Synthroid know that the drug is notorious for having to have its dose changed. You have to go in and change your dose on your thyroid hormone, because your hormones are always adjusting. Can't just treat the thyroid this way. So then what do? Iodine is important, yes, but that's not important for the thyroid. That's important for the hormone. So what do you do for the thyroid? Well, if it's an autoimmune problem, which mostly it is, always you work on the digestive system, because this is how autoimmunity happens, through the digestive system. I have an entire textbook here about it's called Autoimmunity and Digestion. It's a huge textbook. And it talks about all the different ways this happens, but yet you don't hear anywhere about this link. But it's logical if you backtrack. So if you're going to deal with your thyroid, you go to the doctor. He'll just take your thyroid. You say, "Oh, I'm so tired lately." He takes your thyroid. You test your thyroid TSH and T4 and T3, and does all the numbers. Says, "Oh, you're hypothyroid." Or sometimes they'll say that you're normal, because you fall within normal ranges, even though you're symptomatic. But let's say he says you're hypothyroid. What's he going to do? He's not going back to your digestive system. He's not going to be putting you on probiotics. He probably doesn't even understand this connection. He's not going to stabilize your blood sugar. And most importantly, when it comes to adrenal health, or when it comes to the thyroid, adrenal health, relax. Under long-term chronic adrenal activity, hyperactivity, hypercortisol, too much stress hormones in the body, too much estrogen, which functions like a stress hormone, the thyroid's going to slow down. This is why women become hypothyroid as they get older. When a woman gets older, she's putting a large burden on her adrenal glands. And this is why adrenal health issues. Now, that's where you work on the thyroid, along with blood sugar stabilizing strategies, and digestive health strategies. That's the triangle. It's underneath everything. And it is really, when you understand how it works, it's really, really simple. So for the thyroid, the first hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, or anything that's downstream from Hashimoto's, work on the digestive system, food diary, elimination diet, stabilize blood sugar, and relax the body. As far as nutrients go, nightly essence probiotics for the intestine, ultimate enzymes, apple cider vinegar, fermented foods, fermented veggies. I mean, we say this all the time. This is so powerful for the thyroid. You start working on digestive foods. And by the way, there's this stuff now about, sometimes you hear people talking about goitrogenic foods, cruciferous vegetables. I had a friend of mine who's going through a lot of the stuff. I said, do some research on estrogen and the thyroid. And by the way, hair loss, this one particular gal is dealing with hair loss. So hair loss is one of the things that happens when you become hypothyroid. If you're losing your hair and you're a woman, you're got some hypothyroid issues there going on, and a lot of time that's related to estrogen. Anyway, she says she started doing some research, and she says, oh my God, I can't have goitrogens, I can't have broccoli, I can't have Brussels sprouts, because the cruciferous vegetables, they call them goitrogens, they can tie up and prevent you from getting full benefit from thyroid hormone. But it's so slim, it's so tiny, if at all. It's, not everybody has a problem this way. So not to worry. You got bigger fish to fry if you're hypothyroid. Take care of your digestive system and your blood sugar system and relax the body. There's also really important nutrients you can take that help with the adrenal glands, because the adrenal glands are using nutrients, a lot of them, especially zinc and especially your vitamin C. This is where vitamin C becomes really important, as a stress management substance. Vitamin C is the stress management vitamin. It helps the body deal with massive stresses, and when an animal is animals make their own vitamin C. When an animal is under stress, its vitamin C production will double and triple. The body of a goat or a squirrel or a cow, all these animals that make their own vitamin C, is wise enough to start cranking it out. It's produced in extra high concentrations when the animal is under stress. That's to say how important vitamin C is as a stress management molecule, because the adrenal glands are packed with it, loaded with it, maybe the most important, the most vitamin C rich organ in the body. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. That's Beyond Tangy Tangerine, by the way. That's one of the best ways to get your vitamin C, nutritionally speaking, supplementally speaking. Patricia Davis coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We've got Patricia Davis coming up. We're going to talk about money things. Going broke is no joke, as the title of her book says, and that's exactly, I can tell you from personal experience, going broke is no joke. We'll talk to Patricia Davis here momentarily. I want to remind you to check out our Truth Skin Health products, truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com, and all the longevity products at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, criticalhealthnews.com. Got blog posts, news stories, videos, lots of good health information, and a Join the Team link that you can click on on brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. All right, so Patricia Davis is the managing director of Davis Financial Services, and she's the executive director of Money Matters, Inc., and she's also an authoress and written several books about money. And I got to say, I know a lot about health and chemistry, but I don't know a lot about money, unfortunately. And that's something we all should know about, especially in this corona crazy historic time that we're living in. We're going to talk about how you can get through this craziness with Patricia Davis. Please welcome to the bright side, Patricia A. Davis. Hello there, Ms. Davis.
Hello there. How are you?
Nice to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on the bright side. We talk a lot about physical health on this program. Sometimes we talk about financial health too, and they kind of go together, I think. Would you agree?
100%.
Yes. So if you're not healthy, nothing else matters. But you can become very financially unhealthy if you're physically unhealthy too. So
financial unhealth leads to physical unhealth.
That's another very good point.
Worrying about all of your money issues.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good point. And like it or not, we live in a world where money becomes important. By the way, have you been following all the stuff about cashless society and cashlessness?
Somewhat, but I don't think I'm there yet. So I haven't devoted a lot of attention to that one.
Okay, so let's talk about real money or paper money or hard money, whatever you want to call it, and what we can do, because there's a lot of people obviously going through some turmoil, financial turmoil. A lot of people losing their jobs. A lot of people don't know how they're going to pay their bills. Now they got the school thing. I was talking to a parent. My kid is old, but I was talking to a parent of a young child and said, "How am I going to work?" So a lot of stuff up ahead here. Give us some ideas about what we can expect in the coming years. First of all, in the short term and then in the long term. The short term and then in the long term. And then after that, I want to get into what we can do about it. But first, tell me what you see up ahead in the short term as well as the long term.
What I see up ahead in the short term is parents continuing to struggle with the debate over whether schools open. Are they safe to open? And if they do, what do I do with my children? How do I ensure their safety, even if the school's open? And many parents want the school to open because they understand that it's good for the children, but the physical conditions are not there yet. We haven't heard plans that tell the schools exactly how to make this work so that parents can feel comfortable going back to work. So many that I hear from say, I wouldn't put my child back in school with no idea as to how safe they're going to be or what they might bring home from school to me and my family.
Do you think that's what that they're going to open or they're going to close, or do you have a sense of any of that?
My sense is that they're going to try a hybrid and do some in-person learning and some tele-learning. They have to stretch it out that way because to do social distancing, they have to have fewer desks in a room. They have to have fewer children in the classroom. So that means some of the children can't be there. But the dilemma for those children who are tele-learning is who's helping them. Some families I know aren't able to help them. I was a math major in college.
Yeah.
And in my family, I'm the math tutor.
That's awesome that you're a math major. Yeah, that's awesome.
What children in the 6th grade are doing. Most parents can't do that work. They're doing calculus in junior high school. So how do they learn that at home with nobody there to guide them?
Okay, so I had another question for you, but that leads me to something else that you just said, and it kind of related. What's the future? What does that imply for the future in terms of the market, the job marketplace? Like, if we're producing a generation of kids, and this is almost like a generation of kids that are going to be impacted by this now, that has missed grades, missed time, not had intensive learning. What does that mean for the future, first of all, for that generation when they become teenagers and then adults? And then the question I want to ask also, which is related, is what kind of jobs do you think are going to be the most financially rewarding in the future, and which kind of jobs won't be and that will be phased out? So first of all, what do you think it means for the future, that generation, as they get older, as they become teenagers and adults, and then enter into the workplace? What are the implications for them missing out on 3, 4, 5 years, maybe, or at least a year or two of their childhood education? And then tell me about the job thing later, after that.
They won't have the skill set that those of us who had in-person learning for all of the 12 years or 16 years if you go through undergraduate school. So it may make managing other people very difficult for them because they haven't had those interactions. But a lot of the jobs that we knew of in our generation are gone. They're gone forever.
Like what?
For example, my husband a while ago had a young lady who was asking him about helping her find a job as an administrative assistant. He said those jobs are gone. People aren't hiring folks to answer their phones and type their papers and manage their schedules. They're doing it themselves. They're not just outsourcing it, but they're doing much of it themselves. And then, like you say, they're outsourcing the rest. You can go online and find people who are willing to be your assistant from a distance. You've never seen this person, but they manage everything for you.
Virtual assistants.
Yes, those jobs that we knew of, many of them are absolutely gone. Even something as simple as the post office. After a while, when people aren't sending letters, people aren't paying bills by mail, and all of that, why do you need this big postal system that's there? And post office is a job that so many young people took right out of high school and worked in for 20, 30 years and retired.
Yeah, so post office could be so in 20 years from now, that could be like a remember when we used to have the post office kind of thing.
Right.
I could see that. So that alone, that's such a fundamental part of life and has been for so long that change alone implies like a whole different world, a whole different right? A whole different reality that we're going to be living. Like in 20 years, cars will be driving by themselves all the time, everywhere. No, listen, that's true, right?
We have a car that has driverless, whatever it is, and I don't drive that car, but I just cannot imagine getting in a car and letting it drive. My husband pulls up to the house and he pushes a button, and he drives up towards that garage and the door goes up because the car is programmed programmed where we live.
It's programmed into the house. You know,
Right.
I remember them talking about this. But here's the thing: it doesn't have to be you or your husband, because the kids who are born today, it'll be normal for them, right? They won't know that. It's always the kids who are born today that move everything along, because they don't know any different. We're like dinosaurs already. Oh my goodness!
We promised one of our nephews, if he did well in school, we'd take him on a cruise. So we were trying to encourage him. He did what he was supposed to do. So we said, we'll take you on a cruise to Jamaica. But before you go,
we got a quick. I was going to let you finish that, but we'll finish when we come back from our break. We got to take a break,
okay.
Patricia Davis. I also want to talk about the things we could do to get through this in the short term. Patricia Davis, you're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back with more Patricia A. Davis right after this. We are back on The Bright Side. We're talking to Patricia A. Davis about COVID and money realities, and going broke is no joke. I love that title. These are all Kindle books, right? Everything you have is on Kindle?
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
Yes, it is Kindle. It is on Kindle, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. And Patricia A. Davis. Okay, so let's get to things we can do. So what should people be doing now for the short term to get by, and what should people be doing for the long term for when we get through this, to prepare for after we get through this?
Well, they're very much the same kinds of things. What I want people to do in the short term, I want them to continue to do in the long term, because what we have a tendency to do is do a fix-it while the pain is great, but as soon as the pain modulates, then we go back to our old ways. Yeah, that's right. And one of the big things that people have not done, I have found, is that they don't create an emergency fund. They tend to spend everything they have and think that there will never come a day when they aren't able to continue at the level of income that they are today. And we now know that that's not true.
What do you suggest?
I'm sorry?
How much? What percentage, a certain percentage of your expenses or of your income, or how do you figure out how much you need to have in an emergency fund?
What you really need to have at a minimum is 3 months of your expenses, your own. You can't base it on what somebody else has, and it may not be an absolute percentage. But what do you need to carry you through 3 to 6 months? And today is certainly an example of how true that is. If people had that money put away, then they wouldn't have as much pain as they're experiencing today. The year before last, during the government shutdown, you heard people in December crying, how am I going to pay my rent in January? That means they didn't even have 1 month of savings.
Is that always possible?
For an emergency.
Is that always possible when people are living hand to mouth?
Well, what you have to do is go back and modulate what hand to mouth means. It may mean that you have to look at some of those things that you thought were needs as wants, and not have cable, every channel that's available, not have the latest iPhone, not have the latest shoes. That's what causes people, in many cases, to be down at the minimum because they're spending everything they have. And it used to be something called keeping up with the Joneses, but that's taken on a whole new meaning in the age of social media.
Oh, my goodness. It's amplified like a million times.
The Joneses used to live next door. They went to your church. They went to your school.
Yeah.
Now the Joneses are anywhere in the world.
The Joneses are the whole world.
Yes.
Everybody's the Joneses.
And
that's a very good point.
You go online and you see your friends with plates from their favorite restaurants. You see the new shoes. You see the vacation pictures. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you want that too.
Wow. So that's actually made it more of a. It's made it more of a battlefield. If it's a war, right? If it's kind of a war that you're dealing with this, now the battlefield is so huge. So, those are all very interesting points. But from a practical standpoint, what can people do? They got a family. Let's take a worst-case scenario, okay? You're got a family. You're supporting a wife and kids. You lost your job at the, your business, where you were working went out of business or whatever. And now what do you do? What's an action step, an actionable thing people can do when their back is up against the wall?
Well, we talked about needs versus wants, and that's an absolute minimum that you have to do. But there are local local news feeds that advertise free services, including food giveaways. So subscribe to one of those local news services. Barter and trade with friends and family for things that you can do in order to cut back on your own expenses. Maybe you can cook, you can sew, you can do handy person work, you can run errands. So that's a way you can make some money. When you do have to go to the store, go to one of the big box stores, the discount stores, the BJ's, Costco, Sam's, those kinds of stores. And even with those box stores, big box stores, you can get prescriptions in those stores without being a member. You don't have to be a member to go into Costco and get your discounted prescriptions filled.
Okay. You get into the pharmacy, you get into the store to get to the pharmacy, even if you don't have a member? Okay,
even if you don't have a membership card.
Okay, now how about people who they're not in total dire straits, but they want to prepare for the future? What can they do right now? Say they have a little bit of income coming in. What kind of things can they do with that money to prepare for the future? So 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're in a good situation.
Well, you've got to start off with a new budget, and that involves the whole family, because when everybody knows what the goals are, then you're better able to try to meet those goals. You can say, no, remember we're saving for, or we're not doing that right now. So you get everybody around a table and say, this is what we're trying to do, and start off by cutting back on your expenses and saving a portion of that money. Now, because interest rates are so low, I can't say you can save it somewhere at 10% because you're not going to be able to do that. But just open a money market fund that's almost untouchable unless you have a crisis, and work towards that 3 to 6 months of money that is not touchable. And that doesn't mean it's there when you want to go on a cruise or you want some new designer jeans. That's not what it's there for. It's there so if there's another crisis, you don't have to go through the same pain that so many people are going through today.
Do you have any ideas for like things that people can do to invest in the future, like in future technologies or future developments? Where's a good place to put your money or your attention?
I tend to stay away from that particular area, but one of the things we were told many, many years ago is look around you and see where people are spending their money. You know today that there's this product called Zoom, and months ago my husband invested in some Zoom stock, and he tells me regularly how Zoom is just zooming.
Oh, my
because
goodness.
That was something that
he saw. He
saw that people weren't leaving home. They had to have some way to communicate. So what were they doing? They were going on these programs. If Nike is what you see everybody wearing, look into Nike stock. Look into McDonald's or whatever is around you that you see is popular and say, maybe I'll take a little piece of that. But I don't recommend investing until you've got your emergency fund. You've got to have that set aside.
So you're saying the key to the whole thing is to have an emergency fund and just like a security fund, just in case.
It's called a what-if fund.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And the average American has like $40 or something, or $400. He couldn't afford a $200 bill. Have you heard this? Something along those lines. Yeah, and that's really what's scary is when something hits and you don't have anything, a nest egg. Very good advice. And you know what? The same thing, we talk about the same thing when it comes to health, is you want to be strong now so when a virus comes or an infection comes, you can take care of it. Get your body strong, make sure you're healthy physically, and then make sure your finances are strong, make sure you're healthy financially as well. Well, that was great. Thank you, Patricia Davis. And your book's Going Broke is No Joke, 52 Money Tips everybody should know, in addition to, who's Mimi, by the way? Mimi Money and Me.
Mimi was my mother, a young widow with 5 children who made us learn the rules of the money game.
Oh,
that's where it all began.
But you also went and got a BS in mathematics, and that's a statement right there. If you can think mathematically, that's like the fundamental. That's where reality begins, is mathematically. Not to mention not money. Everything. Have you heard about all the stuff going on? People understanding how the world is structured mathematically, and this guy Max Tegmark wrote a book about it. How math underlies everything we see in the world. So if you understand mathematics and statistics, That's pretty darn good. The hard, I have a pharmacy degree, and I had to study a lot of organic chemistry and physics and physical chemistry. But the hardest course I ever took was a course in statistics.
And those were my favorite courses. That's why I minored in stat. And
that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Well,
and then you also you had a master's from Georgetown also.
And one from Stanford and one from Golden Gate.
And real quick, who'd you work with in the White House? Who's president?
Ford.
You work with Ford. Oh my goodness! So you've been around there, Miss Davis. You sound like a youngin.
I hear that all the time, but
yeah, you sound young. All right, it was great to talk to you. Thank you so much, Patricia A. Davis, Managing Director of
website. But can I give them my website?
Yeah,
name?
please.
www.yourmoneywiz.com. YOURMONEYWIZ. And my books are available on Amazon or my website.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So yourmoneywiz.com?
Yes, sir.
And people can email you real quick. Your email?
davisfinancial373@msn.com.
davisfinancial373@msn.com. Thank you, Patricia. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a great day. Yes, you too. All right, that's it for The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye for now.